You are?
Hi, this is Don Matteo, and you are listening to the Ought to Know Better podcast. Let's do this.
Leeds are shit. We're recording, you know.
Oh, shit. We had a good start. I don't think we've got the personnel.
You can fucking laugh all you want, you absolute bellend.
I think about things. That's why you lot are idiots.
A melted version of a dick that's been shrink wrapped.
The absolute elite shithousery of this.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our 10th main podcast of the season. I am here joined tonight by little man Tate, also better known as Jay. How are we, Jay?
I'm all right. I've got over the weekend. Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, who was on BNC? It was me and...
Me and you.
Was it you? Yeah, it was me and you. So
we had Big Jim from Leeds House.
That's right. Yeah, we will get the thoughts at some stage from Gilly. Evening, mate. How are you doing?
Could be worse. It's all right.
Could be worse. Could be better though, I suppose.
Could be better. Could be worse.
Could be better. Could be worse. You know, it's Tuesday now, and I think if we haven't, as Leeds fans, developed the antidote to getting over games by Tuesday, I think we're in a bit of trouble, aren't we? Do you know what I mean? Because this season, we knew it was going to be a long one. We knew we were going to get these types of results. Albeit we didn't potentially think that it was going to be against Burnley at the weekend. We'll start there. We'll start the weekend just gone. We'll start with Burnley. Obviously, those of you who did tune in saw Jay and I chewing the fat for a few hours on Sunday morning. What did you make of it, Gilly, in a nutshell?
Well, we've got to stop being the better side in a game that comes away with nothing, because that's relegation. If you keep doing that, then you get relegated, don't you? If you keep coming away with nothing, it was a poor game, but you know, you look at so my favourite graph, the momentum graph, is just ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous, and you know, I know that a lot of people are saying, you know, like me, ask me stats that don't mean anything, but actually, when they're so one-sided, it is just incredible just how one-sided that was. We need to find a way, because we are dominant. You know, I thought we were dominant against Spurs. We definitely were dominant against Burnley. Going away in the Premier League and dominating a side that much, it is ludicrous, and we need to find a way to turn that into points, because otherwise the season's going to run away with us.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's only so many times you can repeat yourself and say shoulda, woulda, coulda, because they are the last words of a fool. And whilst I agree, the statistics show that we are playing the right game and we are creating enough chances and so on and so forth. The statistics under Jesse Marsch weren't that bad. Do you know what I mean? So we've got to sort of be careful on how we dissect these things, I think, because it's all good and well having 62% possession, I think it was, or something silly, and having 19 shots, but if only 4 of them are on target, and let's be real, most of them should have gone in. And it's a very difficult situation I find myself in at the moment, because I find myself between a bit of a rock and a hard place, because I think Farke's doing everything right. I think the players are letting him down. I'll be brutally honest. I think and not even the players to a degree, because we probably shouldn't have 2 or 3 of those players starting for us in the Premier League. In realism, so maybe it's down to the board, maybe it's down to the players. Jay, I know we got into it in some depth on Sunday. I say depth, as deep as we could go. I mean, you're allowed to get us about standing in a puddle before you're in the deep end, aren't you? But what have you changed your thoughts anything at all or much since Tuesday? Since Sunday, sorry.
If I'm totally honest, I've not really thought about it since then. I've just kind of put it to the back of my mind and moved on. It's quite nice.
It's quite nice having that BNC when you're on BNC, because it does help you get over it, doesn't it, and forget about it and then sort of move on. But obviously not everybody has that benefit and that luxury. So you haven't really even given it any thought. Have you watched any of the highlights or anything?
No, I've not watched any. I don't really. When we lose games, I'm kind of get away from it. I don't want to know. Move on like it never happened, kind of thing. Forget about it. I can't watch bits back. It just pisses me off. It's kind of something that I've said for the last couple of weeks, really, that we can't afford to keep having games where we're saying, "Oh, we could have won that game. We should have won that game." We have to start actually winning games, and it's more disappointing the Burnley thing because when you saw the performance against Spurs, we've gone out there and we've dominated a really good established Premier League team, and you think looking at that, we're going to be fine if we can perform like that against teams like this. Then these so-called lesser teams, we should be absolutely fine against. We should be beating most of them, and I think most of us felt like that before that game. I think we all felt that were a game where we're going to go and at least get a point, and most people have probably taken that away.
I think in hindsight they wouldn't, Jay. I think probably most people expected to go and win that game. I think the sensible fans probably would have taken a point away at Burnley. Gilly said we absolutely dominated that game from maybe 10 minutes in. I don't think they ever looked like the better team. But as Skip rightly said a minute ago, he said it does mean nothing. Dominating teams does mean nothing. But it shows that we're doing lots of things right. I think that's probably the real denominator to take from these statistics, whether you like them or whether you like data or not. The real denominator and the real takeaway from all that is the fact that we are dominating teams. We should have beaten. I would argue the games we've lost in the Premier League this season, we've not deserved to lose any of them. You look at other than Arsenal,
Arsenal's the outlier. Yeah,
yeah. You look at Fulham. It was an injury time winner. You look at Spurs, we probably deserved a draw at the very least. You look at Burnley, and those three games could have quite easily gone the other way, but we've lost all three, and that's a 9 point swing, or at the very least a 3 point swing for me, where we could have got a draw in those games. So we as I said before, we can only sit here and make so many excuses up. And is it an excuse, or are we actually seeing what we're expected? People said about Burnley, about Farker last season, he only has one way of playing. We played 4-2-3-1 all last season. We played 4-3-3 this season. So he has changed things. And to put the performances in that we are putting in as a collective and as a team, I just sit here and I think it's a bit of a shame that we are sat in 16th position in the league on 8 points from 8 games when it could be a lot higher. We could be right up there with Sunderland.
Yeah.
One or two other things go our way. Do you know what I mean?
Arguably.
And he's hailed as a bit of a tactical genius then, but because the players, in my opinion, aren't doing their jobs to a degree, that's why we're sat here. I would argue downbeat and a little bit sort of perplexed as to why we're not sort of on those. Do either of you have a real method as to why we're not sat up there on more points, other than simple basic errors?
Well, it is that, isn't it? I think you're right on Farker, because if you look at the shape of the game, there's only so much he can do. I think if you look at the way that any of the champions over the course of the Premier League era have set up and have gone about games, they've wanted the ball, they've had the possession, but then they've made the chances count. And I think it's that. It sounds daft, but actually when you boil it right down, you do a bit of a Normanton from a square ball, is you kick the ball hard into the goal and you don't concede at the other end and you win games. There are lots of, we don't do it necessarily, but there are lots of content creators that want to make it a complex thing and talk about low blocks and mid blocks, and it's, when you boil it right down, it's not a very complex thing. It's score more than the opposition, and that's just what we're failing to do. And you look at the people were clamouring for Struijk to come out of the team after the 2 goals conceded in the way that we did concede them. I thought Struijk had played all right. I think he's gone off the boil over the past couple of games. I think he played all right so far this season. And I think it's fair criticism to say, well, you look at Struijk, the ball he gave away near halfway line, and he was never going to get anywhere near Kyle Walker, let's be honest. Kyle Walker might be in his 50s, but Struijk's still not going to match him for pace. But then just letting him shoot. But there are other players that are culpable. I think it's been pointed out a lot on social media about Anton Stadt's position and his reaction to us losing the ball and not closing players down and just kind of ambling round in midfield. And one of the things that I'm looking for there is the other players to really get on his case about that. You know, I'm looking for Ampadu to take strips off him and really drive the team forward. And maybe we weren't even seeing that. But so I think there are some changes that can be made. But largely, if the side has dominated, then it's really, really difficult to hammer the coach too much. Because he set his side up in a way that he set it up, and if you have chances, you know, we can talk about Button-Ups has pointed out the Aronson one. There's the Aronson one. Harrison could have had a couple on a different day if he were a bit more composed. There were chances that came, and there were a lot that got nowhere near. Now that happens, you know. There's the one about Bogle. I know that we were talking, Luke, in our group chat. It looked to me from the replay behind the goal like the keeper just got the tiniest bit of a touch on it. But still, that is a glorious opportunity. Goals, I hate saying this.
And it's one you'd expect him to take as well, though, Gilly, usually.
It
do you know
is,
what I mean?
it is. And actually, if it just hits him and bobbles in, we're all celebrating. And I hate to say these words because I'm echoing what Danny Mills has just said, and that's always bad, isn't it? But what he said is, for this little bit is true. Goals change games. We score one of those chances and we go on and win that game because Burnley couldn't get close to us. We were dominating the ball. You give us that impetus that a goal gives us, and we'll run away with that game. I'm confident that's the case, and I'm still confident now that's the case. I think the other thing to remember, just two more things. One, remember the in-betweeners. Burnley can fuck off. And two, we'll be feeling very, very different going into the rest of the fixtures over the course of this weekend if against West Ham we've extended our ability to maintain in advance of points per game. Because we're playing at home, we beat West Ham at home, then we're all of a sudden we're on 11 points from 9 games. And that sort of form puts you in the mix for staying up. So it'll feel very different as well. So we've spoken about how important our home form is, and it really is.
It will, Gilly. It will feel very different. But when you look at the fixtures we've got coming up, this was a great opportunity to pad that and actually be in a position where actually we're in a position to lose a few games and actually not be that worried going into December and the end of December. Also, do you know what I mean? Yeah. I think now we've given ourselves a real task to come January be on 1 point per game. Don't get me wrong. I think we will pull a mad result out of our asses and beat somebody that we're probably not expected to. But this was a real opportunity for me, and especially given the performance and the statistics to back it up. I just wanted to share this really, really quickly. Johnny Cooper from Opta shared. I don't know if either of you have seen this, but
I think I know what you're going to put up.
Yeah. So across the last 3 Premier League match days, the 3 teams with the best shot difference, which is shot minus versus shots faced, are Arsenal, which is plus 36, Man City, which is plus 30 shots, and Leeds plus 29. So 1 shot behind Man City, and they have both gained 9 points with plus 4 and plus 7 goal differences respectively, and we've gained 1 point with a minus 3 goal difference.
This backs up something I was going to say, Luke, but Gilly went on for so long, I almost forgot it, to be honest with you. But by and large in the Premier League, like the level that it's at now, most teams, for the most part, cancel each other out, and games get decided by individual brilliance as much as individual errors, and we're lacking that at the moment. We're lacking that bit of flair, that bit of spark, and you're seeing sort of stats like that. It shows that by and large, the tactics work. What Farke's telling him to do works. It's not being finished off.
I think blaming Farke's very lazy based on the performances and based on people's data when it suits them. Actually, it's great in it, but when actually you're showing data like that actually we've probably got one of the weaker squads, certainly towards the bottom end of the Premier League. However, based on shots, I appreciate shots don't count for everything, but it shows we're playing in the right positions of the field. If I was to grab the momentum graph from all these games, it would probably show that we have the better momentum in every game, in all these games. Spurs, Bournemouth, Fulham potentially, maybe not so much Fulham, but certainly in the last 2 or 3, and it's almost insulting to show that we are third behind 2 big dogs in this league. There's no doubt. There's no means around it. And 3 goals from 54 shots with 6 conceded from 25. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And somebody just popped a thing there we go. Steve Brown. Between both goalkeepers this season, our goals prevented stat is at minus 4.68 in only 8 games. So they're not preventing. So was Melia the problem? Was Melia the problem? That's another question we can ask each other. I don't think he helped. Don't get me wrong.
I think he was at the time.
It was a problem. Don't know about
We're in a
the
different
problem.
time, different situation now.
Yeah.
I think he was at fault for a lot of the goals and stuff, but the fact that we're leaking goals, specifically actually more recently, because we started quite tight with Newcastle, with Everton, Arsenal, forget about it. They're in a different stratosphere to us. I think other than those 2 games, other than the Arsenal game, we have looked very, very tight up until recently. But that I suppose that goes with hand in hand with trying to score goals. The fact is we didn't score an in-play goal over the first 3 or 4 games. I think 4 or 5 games, and then now we're sort of everybody's wanting to see score goals. We're not putting the ball in the onion bag, and it's risk reward, isn't it? If you want to score goals, you got to leave yourself a little bit more open at the back. So you expect to concede some. But going back to what Gilly said, if you score more goals than the other team, and look, our best or certainly most famous manager in recent times, that was almost his motto, wasn't it? Score 1 more than the team, and we just don't seem to have, whether it's the personnel, the confidence. I think it's probably a mixture of the 2.
I think that's fair. I mean, his hands are tied to a degree when everyone's bloody injured, but even when we've got a fully fit squad, it's not, it's not screaming from the rafters, we're amazing. It's adequate, but the tactics, as I said, they work. We're getting the chances. We just need to finish them. Even with so-called shit wingers in the team, the other day we got the chances.
We did, but you point out any side in the world that loses their first choice 3 wingers and aren't impacted up front.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that.
I think Luke's right. It is a lazy argument to look at Farker on that basis. He made it very, very clear he wanted more attacking options. He didn't get them. It was left late in the window. They didn't get Wilson over the line, and we were in for others, whether it were ever genuinely going to happen or not. It was very clear that he wanted more attacking prowess and somebody a bit more exciting, a difference maker that can play in behind a striker or on either wing that we didn't get.
He said it outright.
So I think you need to temper that, but I think the people that are calling for Farker are people that were calling for Farker before the season started. That's not new. You've just got people that you've got people that are ready to put the boot in because they wanted to, because they'd written him off before the season started.
I wrote him off after Southampton.
Yeah, we were talking about, would you move for so and so before the season started? Would you move for so and so before it starts and replace Farker? And you're looking at it, you're going, genuinely, if you can get a world class coach, then I think you'd be mad not to. But other than that, you can't judge him on what he's done before when he's had what were it? Mad start, a total of 29 million to spend across 2 seasons with Norwich.
Yeah, something like that.
So, but he's not experienced at this level, having been backed either. But I think there's an argument to say he still isn't. He still hasn't been.
I mean, the 100 million or just over 100 million suggests he has, but he's still crying out for that additional play. He still didn't think we had enough at this level, and if him recognising that isn't a sign of a good manager, then I'm not sure what is. Jay, do you think any other managers that we could attract realistically could get a better tune out of this squad and be creating that many chances and be that pragmatic and dominant in games, but still not get the results?
I don't know. I don't know if any other manager would get us to be as dominant as we have been, to be honest. It's not something that I'd want to think about upsetting at the moment. I don't see that anything's going wrong enough for us to consider that. So I can't say I've given it a great deal of thought. You don't want someone like Ange coming in and tearing it all up, and it just been like a Avi Grazia type appointment, do you? That's that's the sort of thing that can happen.
Scooby's having a laughing comment.
Come on, Scooby. He can't even open his eyes properly, man.
Oh, dog chops.
Yeah.
Let's fly through a few comments then. So, all in all, I mean, we're disheartened about the result, not necessarily about the performance as a collective. Would you agree?
Yeah. And if you look at the teams that were in and around, we're ahead of Forest. You'd have taken that before season started. We're a point behind Fulham. You'd have taken that as well. Fulham are now an established Premier League team. Yeah. I think you'd have taken that as well. We're not in bottom three, so I think if we come out of that West Ham game with 3 points, it really does feel very different. And
we're on the same points as Fulham, actually.
Well, is it same points? It's
one behind Newcastle.
That's right. Yeah. Again, if you'd have said to me at the start of the season, 8 or 9 games in, you'll be a point behind Newcastle. Great. Fantastic.
You'd take that all day long, wouldn't you? Although
you
think that meant we're higher up.
You would, but equally, what I guess the point I'm making is, even some settled sides and even some sides that have had a lot put into their squads have already had a difficult start. Villa have had a difficult. I know they've kind of started putting it a bit together, but we won't be far behind Villa going into the weekend if we've played on Friday and taken all 3 points.
Every team has tough spells.
Yeah. So, albeit it feels very much like we're clutching at straws, but we are only 8 games into the season.
That's a goal.
Yeah. Wicked. Right, let's fly through a few of these comments really quickly. Richard Hogan says this team needs to start finishing their dinner. Is he on about us 3 or is it about Leeds United?
I need to not eat so much dinner, I think, mate. So he must be talking about team.
Yeah, I think he's probably on about Leeds United. I think we've probably gone over that. I think if we had better, more clinical forwards, we would be having very different conversations right now. Because I don't think it's disingenuous to suggest that we could be sitting on an extra 4 or 5 points right now, maybe even 6. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that would put us on 14. Say if we were on 6 points, and we'd be 1 point off Europe. And that's the type of conversations and realism. But this league waits for nobody, and it's ultimately it is very, very tough. It's tough, and we expected that. And if you're not going to take your chances, it's unforgiving. So Richard, completely agree. Roland, good evening, mate. My disappointment with Aronson's missed chance was somewhat tempered by imagining Gilly absolutely losing his shit.
That happened. Can attest.
Absolutely.
I mean, that wasn't the only time I was losing my shit, to be fair. I lost my shit quite a lot through that game.
I think we all did, to be honest.
Yeah, Steve Brown makes a great point. I think when you dominate and don't score, you can't afford to give away the sort of goals that we gave away the other night. I think the second one, an absolute worldie. Could we have done better to close it down? Probably. The first one, don't know what happened. It was a basic ball crossed into a dangerous area, and there just didn't seem to be a defender for within 5 yards of the guy who eventually won the header and scored. Lazy defending. You know that ball's coming in. Get next to your man and put him off. Do anything. Do something. But there was nobody. It was a free header, and he took his goal well. To be fair, Skip says he personally backs Farker, but if he loses on Friday, he can see the 49ers pulling the trigger on him in November at international break. Do you think we're at that stage yet? If we lose on Friday,
no.
I think that there'll be some real pressure on him. But you mentioned Marsh and you mentioned the stats underneath him. We were in a position where we were crying out to get rid of him early on, and we didn't. And I think that whether we should or not, I think he'll be under intense pressure if it's not improved by the time we go into the next international break. And yeah, I mean, I don't rate that. I think that given time, he will be all right. And if we get to January and we're in touch, they have to give him the tools in order to do the job properly. But yeah, I think he might be in trouble.
Interesting.
I think it's far
Richard-
too early for that, mate.
I think it's probably far too early.
I'm not
however,
advocating for it. I'm just saying, there's. You look at. I mean, they're not as mad as that, but look at Marianakis.
Yeah.
So anything can happen. If they get a little bit twitchy, boards start getting a bit of shit. Yeah, maybe they'll pull the trigger. It depends what happens between now and then. I think if we get a couple of good results, then you'd be thought of as being mad for saying maybe. But
well,
we'll have to see.
Russell
I think
Martin's
for me,
available.
I think the real, I think the real concern for me is who do we replace him with? Firstly, that is going to want to come to a club that's going to be in a relegation battle, ish or thereabouts. Who do you attract that is going to get a finer tune out of what we've got to our disposal, and whether that's Aronson, Harrison available because that's who's available. Bringing somebody else in doesn't change the playing staff. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to.
Agreed.
It's going to.
Southgate's available.
Unless we're talking a Bielsa type appointment where he can turn water to wine and Harrison can score a hat-trick against Newcastle or something like that. You know what I mean? But at the moment, Jack Harrison looks more like chuffing. I don't know what's the Liam Armisen, the baller. I don't know where that came from. I was just trying to think of something to do with Harrison, but I couldn't think of anything funny enough really quickly. But anyway, moving on. Richard Hogan says, I think Pirro to play and have an opportunity to finish these chances. Aronson or Harrison aren't first choice, but offer very little in this system. Like I agree and disagree with this post completely. In two parts, I think Aronson and Harrison offers something in this system. Aronson more than Harrison, but they offer us very, very little in way of creative spark, and that is what we're missing. Somebody who can bury the ball, somebody who can see that, that Hollywood pass, if you want to call it that, and actually take these chances, because neither of them can or are doing, shall we say. But yeah, I think Peru to play, I think it's not a bad shout, and play very close to Dominic Calvert-Lewin rather than in the 10 position that he was playing last year and dropping deep. Play him off Calvert-Lewin for me. And if that means you've got to sacrifice a centre midfielder in Stack or something else, fucking do it. Just let's see how it works, especially at home on Friday night under the lights when we can really go at somebody, because we're so much better at home anyway. But we shouldn't be reliant on that home form, I don't think, because if we do become too reliant, then we could be in trouble.
I agree with that, and in balance of games, we're bringing on both Metro and Pirro and leaving DCL on, so we're playing free up front, and we're finding a way to do that and still dominate the ball. So do you know what? Just do it from start. Not with all three of them. I'm not advocating for that just yet, but I think getting somebody off. I held my hands up 3-4 weeks ago on Twitter, and I went, you know what, Calvert-Lewin, I didn't recognise your game. I didn't know your game. We need to get people in and around him because he's going to win the ball. We have to be confident that he's going to win the ball, because more often than not, he is going to. And if you've got somebody that can finish, and we have on the bench, and your wingers aren't doing the job, fuck it, put two up front, because he's going to win them balls.
Do you advocate for 3-5-2 then?
It's difficult, isn't it? Because I want to strike out of the team, but at the same time, it looks like we've got the players for it. I think, can Farker make it work? That'd be up to him. We've switched to it in games, so they must have done some element of it in training. And we've got Biol on the bench. So when you're talking about sacrificing a midfielder, well, if you've got three at the back and we've got Gudmundsson and Bogle on offering the width, I think we've got the personnel that can make it work. Your issue is if any of those centre backs pick up an injury, who comes in? Because we're very little covered at that point.
I think if you are going to put Pirro in with DCL, then yeah, go for it, because Pirro feeding off scraps from DCL winning balls out the air absolutely could work. But I wouldn't want to see Pirro instead of DCL, because
no, we'd be toothless
on that winning the ball.
We'd be toothless. You're reliant on the wingers producing, aren't you, so that he can feed off them balls in and whatever else, and we're not getting that. So we just look toothless up front, I think, without somebody, either DCL or Metcha. Metcha looks like a bit of an athlete. he's gonna challenge. He's gonna physically go up against his opponents in a way that Pirro doesn't. So yeah, I think he needs one of them to play off when we don't have our first choice wingers.
I think that's quite sensible. I think as well that DCL, for as toothless as he is in front of goal, he's not scoring a lot of goals. It does bring a lot to this setup and this side, and you've only got to watch highlights from games to see the majority of chances we create are off the back of him doing something, winning a ball or putting himself amongst the defender, knocking it down. And I think we need to try and capitalize that on that, Jay. And I think that's pretty much what Richard's probably trying to say.
I think so.
If you're an advocate for the 3-5-2, I assume you'd probably rather drop Harrison and Harrison than Struijk.
Yes.
If we're changing the system, yes.
Now, does that change does that therefore change if, for instance, Dan James is fit again or Okafor's fit again?
So we're only. I don't think we're expecting either Okafor or.
I don't think Okafor said 7 to 10 days, and that was from last.
They won't have trained either. So I don't see. It might be on the bench. I don't see him starting. If Dan James is fit, then yes. That potentially changes things. What we need to do is carry enough attacking impetus. Having all of the ball and not hurting our opposition just gives them a chance to coast through games and then hit us on the counter, and that's what sides are doing. And I think if you look at Paquetá, we know how good Somerville can be on his day, albeit they looked poor. But against Brentford, I mean, but Paquetá, Bowen, Somerville, they've got players that can hurt teams, and if we allow them that first goal, it's very, very difficult then, because they'll be playing with the tails up and headwind behind them, and it'll be tough.
Those players you've just mentioned, Gil, if they get a sniff of confidence this season, we just know that they're going to go. They could beat us by 4 or 5 if they have a sniff on Friday night, and even if Somerville clips one and it goes off Struijk's head and it goes into the top corner, you just know that if those players start developing, they've got a very good team on paper. Let's not joke
around.
Attack.
A good attack. I'd say.
Yeah. Right. Moving on. Smarty said 49ers have struggled to get a manager for the second best team in Scotland. Ended up chuffing sausage roll. I don't have faith in them to get better than Farke at short notice. Now, would it be considered short notice between now and the end of November or middle of November? Do you think 6 weeks?
They should be looking anyway, shouldn't they?
I mean, they probably should.
They're not doing their job if they don't have a backup option. Because what if Farke just walks out? So for me, the board need to have multiple options on paper that they think are realistic that they can go and get if their manager is no longer available, whether that's been sacked or walked out or falling out with somebody, whatever that might be. I actually think that Danny Rowe will do a good job at Rangers.
Yeah, I do actually.
But that's not to say that I'd want him to come to us. I just think he'll do a good job there. But I don't think it does qualify as short notice, because they should have been looking at that from the start of the season and then review that on a regular basis. And actually, if we don't win against West Ham and then we go into the next couple of games and we don't get anything from them, we will go into November break and we've not picked up any more points, I think he will be under pressure, and they should have had since August to look at what their alternatives would be if they're doing the jobs right.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that.
Smarty doesn't. Look at this.
I think he's on about somebody else.
I think he might be.
Cool. Let's move on. Let's move on to certainly my favourite part of the week, and it is.
Hey, has got a shit tick this week, my little sparrowfat.
Every time I hear that, I almost smile. It just makes me. Well, wasn't it? We were just in the group. Do you remember how it happened? And we just went, "Go on, say something funny." And he went, "Hey, they've got a shit tech this week, my little sparrowfat." That was it.
That's it. That's it.
We're all unanimous. That's the one. That's the one. Right. Let's go through a few of these shit takes, one of which is very apt this week. So I'm going to leave that one till the very end. And we're going to start with number 1. And this is Jamie Parsons, 76. Welcome. Front and centre. Come on down. Unproduced shit and not good enough for the Prem. What do we make of this one then, gentlemen?
Oh, it's ludicrous, isn't it? That's a shocking take. He's one of our most important players. So if he's shit and not good enough for the Prem, then it's fair to say Leeds are shit and not good enough for the Prem. And that might be true, but yeah, it's mad.
Jay, any thoughts on Jamie Parsons' views on Ethan Ampadu?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yeah, you're a bit loud.
It's because I leaned right in. When I was moving shit, I must have clicked the mute button by accident. I was just saying it makes me wonder what he's watching and how he perceives what he sees, because I just don't understand how any rational person could come to that conclusion.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's absolutely absurd. Arguably our most important player for me, week in, week out. He gives us a 7 out of 10. He does have a now and then when he just has a bit of a brain fart, but yeah, for me, I think it's a lot of bollocks. Anyway, moving on. We'll move on. Always right, never wrong. We're back to Tactico Twitter. Cresswell and Joseph have had a goal involvement this week, so obviously the Tacticos that are never wrong have now decided that they're always right because they've got a goal this week. So Cresswell and Joseph banging them in while we flounder. Bittersweet being proven right constantly about players.
Wow.
I mean, even a broken clock is right. As the old adage goes, a broken clock.
That's Marty's broken crocs.
Is right. Is right twice a day in it, you know. And I think, you know, we could be sat here and say about Jesse Marsh being a good manager. He's won football games since he left us. It doesn't mean that the people who said he was the Lord and Savior are right. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. They've had one good game this week. It doesn't undo weeks of no contribution.
And just think what level they're playing at. You know, people are suggesting that these players should have been part of this starting lineup this season. That Matteo Joseph and Charlie Cresswell should have been probably starting. I mean, Charlie Cresswell probably a little bit fairly undone, so I think potentially if we read between the lines and his face didn't fit and whatever else, and his dad piped up, didn't he? And he does seem to be having a good time. He does seem to be having a relatively good time out in France, or he was. It did go quiet for a few months, so I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming he probably played shit for those few months. I
think he's done all right by and large, to be honest. But
yeah, I'm not entirely sure.
Well, he wouldn't have been playing for us. He wouldn't have been in the situation he's in now because he wouldn't have been playing for us. On balance, you probably don't sign Bo now and you keep him, and therefore they'd keep the same situation. But he wouldn't be playing. The other one would be on bench. He won't be playing.
Yeah, exactly. Next one then. Be all and end all. This guy, Brixton White, bit of a dick, says, I'd rather see Beal out wide than little Brendan Weakfoot. Now, this was, I'm sure this was probably in, you know, tongue in cheek, but the fact he put it in reply to me made its way on.
It meant it was going in.
It meant it was going in. It might not have been tongue in cheek, in which case it was probably even more stupid than it sounds, but playing a 6'7" centre back out on the wing. And the part of the reason that this I feel is a shit take is I don't think Brendan Aronson's been one of our worst players this season. I think there's been far worse than him out there. People are just using the opportunity when he has a poor game. And I don't think he was that bad at the weekend, by the way, in comparison to some players, to then use that as leverage for this agenda that Brendan's absolutely awful. So I know, Gilly, I know you don't have a lot of time for Brendan, but even you in recent weeks have said, look, he's been playing relatively well.
I thought he was arsed against Burnley. I thought he was really, really bad. But Farke's got no choice. There is no choice. There is nobody else to play. What are you going to do? You know, somebody was complaining earlier about not rotating the squad. Fuck's he going to do? Put Okafor with broken bits, and James came on before and injured himself and put himself out again. Nonto's been out for weeks. Genuinely, what are you going to, you know, there's only so much squad rotation you can do when half of your squad is injured and you haven't got the signings that you ask for.
Yeah. But playing a centre back out on the wing, it's just get in the bin. Do you know what I mean? Give it a rest. Next one. and probably the most apt, actually. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a clear winner this week. Not to influence anyone's votes, by the way, but a bit of a grey area, shall we say. If Harry leaves, this was sent on the 16th of October, so bear in mind this was 5 days ago, then Eddie should be ostracised from the club. Forget everything he's done for the club. Forget it all because his nephew's decided to leave. What's the point of parading him around if his family just consistently use the club as a stepping stone and jump at the first opportunity to leave? For those of you who don't know, Harry Gray has signed a new contract, his first professional contract with the club today.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
Where are you with that, gents? I mean, is it in a word? It's incredible, unbelievable. Quite happy.
Well, I think Tommy Ladd needs to be ostracised from the fan base. I don't think there can be any coming back from that.
It's an hard take to justify, is that one? I just don't understand the mindset. What's he supposed to do? And nothing's happened anyway. The kid's signed a contract, you know. If he chose not to, why would that be Eddie Gray's fault?
Well,
yeah,
I think he's probably got. I think it's probably a little bit of sour grapes after what, you know, with Archie leaving and whatever else. And
no doubt.
Look, I still believe that had Somerville left earlier, we probably wouldn't have sold Archie Gray. I don't think we'd have been parading him. I think we needed to bring money in at the time, and he was a cashable asset, and he had a release clause that a club. I still think 40 million for him was good money at the time for his age.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a Finlay Gorman situation where Man City have poached somebody that can be genuine generational talent for nothing. We got tens of millions of pounds for a teenager. We've done all right out of that deal. Would I rather have kept him? Yeah, of course, because he's Leeds, he's a Grey. But we've done all. It's not like he did us dirty when he left. And you could see that after the Spurs game when fans clapped him around pitch, and you know, when he were warming up, he were getting standing ovation. Hybrid Cop, he were in front of me, and everybody were cheering him and chanting Leeds, and you know you are. So the head loss like that is just incredible.
I mean, it's typical of Leeds fans, though, isn't it? Just to jump at this because it all stemmed from him blacking his photo out, didn't it? On Instagram, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I actually believe that was him taking the piss. I think he's actually done it. He's a 17-year-old kid,
knowing that there was an offer coming.
Gone into his sixth form and gone, watch this, lads. Watch this. You know, and he's got everything and more.
How to rattle an entire fan base.
Yeah, absolutely. So those options are live. We've got Amper Poo Poo Poo, Tactical Be All Wings and Grey Area. So yeah, we'd all know what we're voting for there. If you don't, then I think you're probably wrong. but anyway, we shall move on. We play West Ham Friday night. In fact, shall it's because I haven't done it yet, and I appreciate Gilly's gone to the time to together, and I'm going to play it because we have actually got our own merch out now. None of us are wearing it, by the way, but we have got some.
Have you ever wanted to wear your questionable football opinions? Now you can. OKB has teamed up with Back4 to make some merch. Start small with an embroidered patch. Stick it anywhere. No, not there. Then there's t-shirts, multiple designs, colours, sizes, all guaranteed to make your mate say, "You paid money for that." Mugs. No, not Jane Carl, actual mugs. For your brew, for your tears, for both. Hoodies, same deal. Multiple designs, colours, sizes. Ideal for pretending you're fine after getting battered off an ESL team. And snapbacks, because nothing says midlife crisis like flat-brimmed confidence. Or no better merch, available now at the Back4 shop. Go on, treat yourself. Or don't, you'll regret it later.
Very nice, Gilly. Well, very well put together as well. So if you do want to, or you don't want to support the channel, then either don't buy it or do. We don't make that much, to be fair. We're absolutely had his pants down as this guy. No, to be fair, Smarty's put a lot of time into the designs of the different stuff as well. So thank you very much I can't get my words out. Thank you very much to Smarty, and thank you, Gilly, for putting that little thing together. We are hoping to have the link in the bio to the YouTube video. I think Jay's going to go do that for me now, since I've just asked him. So if you do want to go and buy anything...
Not Max, I don't know the link, so...
I'll get it sorted.
I'll add that to you in the chat.
Anyway, moving on. So we have got West Ham under the lights Friday night. We have got into it a little bit, but I just want to run through a few comments before we get into the chat. Skips asked, firstly, would a draw on Friday be acceptable? What are your two thoughts on that, given the current league positions, current form, current player availability? Would you consider it? Two questions. Would you be happy, or is it acceptable? There's two questions there.
I think it's not the end of the world. That's a side that's below us, not gaining ground on us. So I don't think it's the end of the world. I wouldn't be happy with it because we've got to make our home form count.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a win. I think anything less, I'll be disappointed, to be honest with you. Had we got a result at Burnley, I would have said a draw as a sort of minimum. But because of that, I think we need to win. And yeah, I just won't be happy if we don't.
I share the same sentiments. I think a win isn't necessarily a must just yet. I think it's desirable. I think, but a draw is acceptable against West Ham. I think West Ham are a very good team, and they will sooner or later start picking up some points under Nuno. So I think, as long as we don't lose, for me, I think a loss would be absolutely. I don't even want to think about it. I don't want to think about the right word to use. Yeah. I think it's been a nightmare for us to lose that fixture. You know, especially at home where we're so proud of our form. Should have beaten Spurs at home. I think for me we have to be, and we will go for the win. Whether or not we get that is a different matter. But yes, I do think it would be acceptable. I don't think it would be desirable.
Yeah.
Skip, to answer your question. Steve Brown would like him to do that. We won't take a lot to tweak, and we can play Pirro off DCL. I think this was in response to playing 3-5-2. Do we think Farke is going to start making wholesale changes based on recent games, certainly the Burnley game, and just rip up the form card, and just because what we've been doing has been working, and we've all sat here and said that, but we're not converting these chances. Does that make us convert more chances? Yes, I think so, because I think it puts a natural goal scorer on the pitch, whereas you're probably losing Harrison and Aronson. Does that mean we don't get the similar build-up play and dominate as much so because we don't have an out on the wings? I don't know. What's your two thoughts?
You go first, Jay.
I don't see him as one for tearing it up and making massive changes, to be completely honest. I think we're going to see more of the same again. I think it's just going to be a case of whether people are back fit or not as to who plays. It's going to be the same system, same setup, and by and large the same team, I reckon. He's just not that kind of guy, is he? Maybe if we're sort of off the back of 3 losses, he'd be thinking, shit, I better try something. But I just don't see him being at that point.
Well, it will be 3 if we lose on Friday. It will be 3.
Oh yeah, and then maybe he'll think again for the next one, but I don't think he will yet. I think a couple of different personnel, perhaps, if people are fit, but that's about it.
I do agree with that. He's somebody that I think will be able to look at the shapes of the game and think the tactical approach, the setup of the team, that's working. And just work with the players on trying to build the confidence and whatever that might be. And yeah, there might be a couple of personnel changes. We've spoken before, and we'll come more to it, I guess. But I would change Biol. I'm not hurried to change Darlow. I think it's really harsh what Jay said about him when he said that he'd put him out to pasture and just get rid. No, I genuinely, I think Darlow's done all right. I don't think he's been terrible. I don't think he's been majorly at fault for many of the goals. He were beaten by a worldie. Could, as you said, Luke, when I asked the question before, when my international radio just had a little bit of a blip, could he have come for the first one? Yeah, arguably, but I think it's fair that he's assuming that one of his centre backs is going to deal with it because it's just a ball into box and they don't. I think it's really harsh that Jay blames Darlow entirely for the defeat.
Get stuffed.
So I definitely will be bringing B all in. I think Stroik's been all right on balance, but in the last couple of games has been poor. And I want Dan James back in the side if we're going to, especially if we're going to stay in the same. Having Okafor if he's on the bench, that would be nice. Being able to come on last 15, 20, whatever that might be. He's got quick feet, and players are worried about him when he gets on the ball. And they tend to double up on him, so that gives somebody else some space, doesn't it? So I think personnel changes are something that we're looking for. I don't think Farke's one to rip up his starting book. We've seen him make changes in games. I don't expect significant changes in terms of the setup of the team from the outset.
I tend to agree. I think we might see one or two. I'd like to see Tanaka start, I think, as well.
Yeah.
I think we do. We just look a little bit more sprightly with him over Statch. And I think Statch blows a little bit hot and cold. And I think for me, Statch needs to start living up to these Instagram posts. He scored that worldie, but look, that doesn't give you that much credit in the bank in your first season at Leeds United. We need more. We need more from you, ultimately. So yeah, I think if you're going to start catching Pokemon and that, you need to be a little bit more Charizard.
Absolutely. I don't know what a Charizard is, but you do need to be a bit more up it.
Fuck off, you don't know what Charizard is.
I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Wow.
Have you lived in like a little troll cave with Jay all your life?
I know what trolls are. They were them
Charizard
little things with big hair that went on your end of your pencil.
But surely you know what a Charizard is. It was like the rarest card, and kids when I was at school, it's a little school I'm talking about. So I must have been 10, I think, when Pokemon was about. And
Pokemon. You never mentioned Pokemon at any point. You just mentioned Charizard.
I said if you're throwing Pokemon balls about, did you not see Statch's Instagram post where he's pretending to be Ash Ketchum, the Pokemon guy?
Yeah, but I didn't really get what it was about.
Anyway, the Charizards were going selling for 20 quid back then. Imagine what they'd be going for now. Imagine like an OG Charizard.
A one card?
One card.
Really rare ones.
And that was back then. That was
Okay.
that was bad.
Yeah, I have never watched. My eldest went into Pokemon, but I was never into it.
And Logan Paul got a really rare one. I was like,
yeah.
I don't know. But you need to get out more, mate. If you're talking about Logan Paul and rare Pokemon.
No, I've just seen the Pokemon card. You started.
I mean, he's a wrestling fan. Come on.
And wrestling. Yeah.
That's the only reason I know about that one. I saw it.
Steve Brown would like him to. Oh, sorry, we've just done that one. Sorry, Steve. Shane Dalton, exactly, Steve. DCL lock-ons and Pyro to feed off them. Would you look at maybe not bringing Tanaka in then, and as I said earlier on, sacrificing Thatch for an example for an additional striker? I mean, that's not going to make us as tight at the back, but we're certainly probably going to score more. We can't score any less, can we? Let's be real.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think Stat comes out of the team, and I think the shape depends on who he's replaced by. I think Tanaka's a great shout. We saw him play really well, and I'd be comfortable in coming into that side and playing against West Ham's midfield. I would have no concerns there, especially with the other two that'd be playing alongside. I just feel like we can be that bit more attacking at home, and we can live with having Pirot in the side operating around DCL, because we're confident that he's going to win so many challenges that you can afford to do that and not have that flat three in midfield. I think the midfield have played well, but yeah, for me, I think it's it depends on the shape that Farke's looking for. But I think you can afford to play Pirot in this one and sacrifice a midfielder for it, and it would be stacked for me.
Yeah, Steve Brown. Sorry, you are back, Steve. The West Ham centre backs were shocking last night, and don't forget they played Monday and they're going to be playing again Friday, so they've only had 3 days rest in between. They're not going to have a lot of time to prepare for our game in comparison to say, what we've had and what other teams will be having. Somebody to play off DCL seems to be very popular from a lot of fans, and I can see why. Because the West Ham centre backs were very poor last night. If anybody did watch the game, I don't often watch Monday Night Football, but yeah, there was not much else going on, so I did watch it, and yeah, I think first 15-20 minutes. Apparently, I didn't watch the first 15-20. Apparently, West Ham looked really sprightly and good and positive. After that, they just fell apart and they did look dog shit. I think they went to a 3-5-2 as well, in fact. And yeah, they didn't look very, very good at all. But that just means that they're going to be really, really good on Friday, probably.
We have to impose ourselves on them. We have to go and bully them. We can't let them get into the game at all. We just can't afford to screw it up.
Yeah, Steve Brown again. Can't afford to concede first again. We've done that 7 games in a row.
That's selling itself, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not good enough. Not good
Imagine
enough.
what we could do if we scored first.
Smarty's piped up. His photo was banned by Instagram for some reason. He replied to a post about
that's
it,
right.
about Harry Gray. Back to Harry Gray.
So not shithousing then. Okay, that's a shame.
No,
I
that
like
is a shame.
shithouse.
I preferred the shithousing idea. Yeah. So let's talk lineups then. We're sticking with the 4-3-2-1 or whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's a 4-3. Well, it's 4-1-2-2-1 actually, isn't it? Because Ampadu plays slightly more back than Statch and Longstaff. So it's actually a 4-1, 2 midfielders, two wingers, or 4-3-3. It's a variation of a 4-3-3.
Call it a 4-3-3. Yeah, that's easier.
Yeah. Between us, unanimous in thinking that Farker's not going to change that Friday night.
Yeah, I don't see it changing.
But in terms of personnel, people talking about Perry coming in. Would you? I know, Gilly, you had your thoughts on Perry, and Darlow. You think Darlow's done enough? Jay, do you agree Darlow's done enough?
I think he's done enough that it wouldn't be surprising if he continued, but I do think he will bring Perry back. I've just got a feeling.
Do you think that he'd bring Perry back because he was signed to be the number one, though, rather than actually based on Darlow's form?
Probably mostly that, I would say. I think there's been times when Darlow's looked a little slow to react to stuff, but he hasn't done anything really wrong, by and large.
Yeah, no,
I come back from the Sheffield Wednesday performance where, let's be fair, that were poor on his part.
Everyone want they?
Yeah, but to be able to come back from that and perform in the way that he has shows that he's got the right mentality, the right approach, and I like I say, I don't think he's made any major mistakes. I think he's made some good saves. His distribution's not been that bad. I think he's better with his feet than Perry is. Perry's an absolute marvel from his hands. I don't understand it, but it works. I think, there's probably a Rizzler paper between them, and is that enough to force a change? Not for me.
No. And then the left back, Gudmundsson. Yes, you'll get your say, Scooby. He was great, both ends of the pitch, although he has got a mistake in him in defence. I have noticed recently. Spurs, I think he was at fault, arguably for both goals in some shape or fashion, some shape or form. But he has been great all season, and I won't deny that. So I think Gudmundsson and Bogle pick themselves. Rodon absolutely plays for every minute he's fit. He plays. The next question mark then is Pascal Struijk. Seen him a little bit in the firing line. People say he was at fault for both goals. I think the ball actually went over his head for the first, and then second when he gave the ball away, which then led to their second worldie. Didn't seem to close down, but there was 7 players around him. It can't just be on Pascal Struijk when there's another 6 players in the vicinity. I think it's pretty harsh to probably blame Pascal for either of those goals. But when you've got this shiny £16 million Adonis on the bench, that's not getting any game time, that everybody wants to see play, by the way, because he's been bigged up as, the best header of the ball in Europe, and winning the most headers, and duels and all this sort of thing. Is now the time to take Struijk out and put Biol in, Jay?
Yes, absolutely. I think, as you say, we've got this guy there. Everyone's seeing him play. It's not even about the fact we want to see him play. It's about the fact we signed this guy to play. And how many chances are we going to get when it feels like a good moment to put him in the team and take someone out? If we don't do that and we go on to get a few results, then, fair enough. I'll be very happy about that. But his time's not going to come, is it, if that happens? So I think now's the time to give him a go and see what he's got.
I think I'm slightly worried either way because of the way that both Biol and Struijk play the game, in which they are good in the air. I don't think anybody criticises Struijk's ability in the air. He's dangerous. He's good in both boxes. He's a danger from set pieces when he goes into attack and so on. So they are both good in the air. The strong headers of the ball. Neither of them are particularly quick. And if you look at the West Ham's attack, Paquetá, Bowen, especially Somerville, they are tricky and fast. And that worries me against either of them if they get isolated. So I think the way that we set up is important. Ampadu is a good foil for the centre backs. Rodon's quick, so that does a lot for us. But I think either way, I am slightly worried about that. But I think Biol reads the game better than Struijk, and I think that's the big thing for me. Struijk might be a bit better on the ball. He's not been recently. I know what you're saying, Luke, about you can't only blame one player, especially when there's 7 around him. But he gave the ball away from a simple pass on halfway line. And so, regardless
it came from Darlow's goal kick. The fact that Darlow, how far back do you want to take it until it's somebody else's mistake? Do you know what I mean? We probably shouldn't have given the ball away from a goal kick in the first place. But yeah, no, I get it. I completely get where you're coming from. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine. I think Biol's that bit better at reading the game, and therefore, hopefully, will be in a better place and less reliant on pace that neither of them have. So that for me is why I would make that change, and I would bring Biol in.
I can see arguments for both, and I don't think there's a right or wrong answer at the moment. I think whatever he does is damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. If he puts the same lineup out and Struijk's in it, people are going to be like, "What the fuck? Why Struijk?" And if he puts Biol in, people are going to be like, "Did he really? Did Struijk really deserve to be dropped?" But it would be nice to see a bit of rotation. So going into the midfield, I think at the moment Longstaff and Ampadu pick themselves. I think the only one who potentially gets dropped in there is Stach for Tanaka.
Yep, also agreed.
Yeah,
unless we're changing the shape of it, then
I'm going with the 4-3-3.
Yeah. If you're going like for like, it's Tanaka. Yeah.
And then we're not expecting Willian Onto, Okafor, or anybody else back.
No,
we've all just
not to start. I don't think
Dan James. Maybe we might get a bit longer out of him. Would you be tempted to start him and get as much out of him as you can, and then
I would
look at bringing either Aronson or Harrison on, or would you use him as an impact again? And just because I think for me, if you use him as an impact and he hasn't got it in him, you can't take him off again, really. So why not gas him, use him from the start, gas him out, and then bring somebody like another option on, maybe Piru even at that stage.
Yeah. I think that's a good shout. The outside one, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. Is do we bring Justin in at fullback and play Bogle on the wing? That's something that I've seen mentioned a few times now. Bogle's very good on the ball. He's quick. And he can put in a decent cross. We've seen that, albeit it was deflected. But the one for DCL's goal, if you remember, that went in top bins from a header. If Dan James, if you can get an hour out of him, especially if Okafor's on the bench, I think you probably do that. But a lot of that hinges on how he trains through the week, doesn't it?
Yeah. I'd do what you said, Luke. I'd start him from the beginning, mate, if he can play, because I don't think you want to be bringing him on if the game's gone and trying to put it all on his shoulders.
Steve Brown makes a great point here, though, Jay. He's gonna be up against what's that left back called who we went after? Diop, is it? Whatever it's called. I forget, for West Ham, but he's gonna be up against him. I've forgotten his name, and
I have.
And up against Aronson. So and up against Somerville. Does that then therefore suggest we might need somebody a little bit more defensive to support and help out?
That's really what I was saying around the Pirot conversation is we need to be carrying the attacking impetus at home, don't we? We need to make them worried about us. I think that's we need to get on the front foot. So while there is an aspect. And actually, they had a couple limp off, didn't they? I think Kilman got injured against Brentford.
Skip.
Yeah. But Kilman went off injured.
Yeah.
So it's unlikely he'll start. So yeah, there were a couple. I can't remember who else. There was somebody else as well. So I mean, I think Fulkrug was on the bench, wasn't he? And I think he'd been unwell, so he might even come back in and be a focal point for him. We don't really know. They kind of played with a false nine with Paquetá and Bowen interchanging in that position, supported by Somerville. That worries me a little bit because that, especially strike plays, because that means that we need to read the game properly, and I think that's where he struggles and comes undone. But I think we need to be the one carrying the impetus and making them worry and pushing them back. I think Bogle's particularly good at that. Goodmanton on the other side is good at that. And we need to make their wingers defend, and let's see if Somerville will put in those hard yards in defence. We need to ask those questions, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we know he doesn't like doing that. We've seen him, we have seen him do that. I've just knocked a glass of water off my feet. And I forgot he was there. Right, let's move on then. And then obviously Dominic Calvert-Lewin starting up top. I don't think we've got another option at the moment on the left for me for Harrison, which is a shame because I think he's our weakest player by a country mile at the moment.
Sure.
And that does concern me. I think even if we could get 40 minutes or half an hour out of Okafor, which doesn't look likely because he won't have trained and he won't be back, but that's the position we're in. So that's our team lineup for Friday night. Does anybody have anything to add about West Ham before I just move on quickly?
Nope.
Fuck them. They've got one of the worst songs in football.
Yeah, it's a wank song.
Great.
It is wank. I do have two more questions for everyone, and they're a little bit left field, a little bit out there, but they have been asked, and I think they are very good questions.
Is one of them about a scumbag for doing scum stuff?
No, but I do want to mention him, actually, but seeing as though he was front and centre of tonight's, what's it called? Thumbnail. Hannibal. Thoughts on that absolute rat and how long? I think Saïs got 6 games in the champ.
Sainz got same, didn't he?
Borja Sainz got 6 games in the champ as well. They've got and that was to a player. Now he's gone into a crowd, and if allegedly, if he has done that,
while we've been on air, Graham's tweeted to say that footage has been made available of it.
Oh, really?
Right.
So obviously it's not been shared to us, but it's been made available as part of the investigation, is what's been reported. So if there is footage of it, I expect them to really throw the book at him. That could be 12 to 15 games.
I reckon
at least, and it
10.
should be. It should be. People should look at what Cantona did all them years ago. And I know it's not the same. He's booted a fan, but it's still assault. It is still assault.
Yeah.
And spitting is arguably worse. I'd rather be booted in the head than spat.
Yeah, exactly.
I would. So yeah, absolute dirty rat bastard. And if I ever see him out in Leeds, I'm going to twat the twat. I nearly dropped the C-bomb.
You did, didn't you? You did.
I nearly did. And we have got 2 other questions, as I did say before, but a little bit left field. First one from Mark Barlow. Hot take. Why don't we sell Nonto for some Saudi cash? Maybe get 25 mil, use it for PSR, bolster the squad. He's hardly played by and large these last 12 months. He's also been, in my opinion, very poor in these last 12 months. Ever since that big money dream came up, we've not seen the best of him, have we? Let's be honest.
But he's not Football Manager, though. You can't just go to a club and go, we're going to give us 25 million.
I get that. But if we were to be offered, would you welcome something like that?
I wouldn't, but I wouldn't on the principle that I'm not confident that we'll replace him adequately. Are we going to go in for free agents and whatever else? And in January, it's, we've seen it is a difficult window to do things in already. So I think we'd be weakening the squad. It's a difficult one. Other people have said the same about Pirro. Pirro's pretty much guaranteed goals at championship level. You get 15, 20 million from him from a side that's struggling, that's been relegated. They've got parachute payments, whatever else, can afford the wages. So there's an argument to say, would you let him go to bring in somebody that can play in that 10 and genuinely make us tick? Be a Buendia for the way that Farker had at Norwich and that sort of thing. The problem that you've got is you need to find the right player to come in. And everybody says that January is a difficult window to do business in. So it depends on who you can get. I wouldn't want him. It's not our money, is it? I'm not happy with Nonto gone for 25 million if that 25 million don't get used adequately, because it doesn't mean anything to us. It being in our coffers means nothing.
Exactly. That's my fear. It's like it might not be as good as he has been in the past at the moment, but we know he's got that in his locker.
We do know how good he can be, don't we, Jed? Especially off either side as well. You know, it's
and we need him at the
agree.
moment.
I agree.
I
find it difficult.
The problem is having the faith in the 49ers to go out and get someone better, because as we've seen a few times over the summer, they don't always get deals done. And I don't want to sell him and end up with nobody.
Nah, that's right.
It's just not getting enough sleep.
I think if we had somebody lined up and did it that way round,
yeah,
dependent on who that somebody is, yes, do it, because I don't think we've seen the best out of Nonto, and I don't think we will now. Well, we might. I'm hopeful because he's very direct. Him and Okafor are very direct, but Willie Nonto has not had a single shot on target this season. Like, he can't score your goals if he's not shooting on target. So, you know, are we really losing out on that much? Yeah, he has barely played. I think he's still played more minutes than you'd actually believe. I'll tell you exactly how many minutes he's played this season. He has played. No, he hasn't actually. 201, so 2.5 games.
Yeah,
out of 8.
You'd expect maybe a shot on target out of that, but it's not the end of the world.
No, it's not. But yeah, you would still, like, with the quality we have seen from him in the past. So, right, one further question and one last question before we start wrapping up. Skipper's asked, if you could change one rule or bring in a new rule into football, what would it be and why? Let's start with you, Jay, because I know you like to be put on the spot.
I don't really have any change of rules that I want or need, to be honest. I would more like.
Okay, Jay, thanks for coming. I'm just kidding. Back to my old tricks.
I would more like to see stuff like handballs at Elland Road actually getting given instead of just ignored than rules being changed, to be honest with you.
Do you think an improved VAR system?
The rules we got.
And a better VAR system?
If you want. I'd rather rules were just enforced accurately and consistently than never, as it seems to be at Elland Road.
Michael Gott said cheerleaders.
Yeah, no, I'm all right. Get rid of your cheerleaders, get rid of fireworks and all that other, Super League
goal music, Gilly.
Oh, it's just we don't need a drum. I've got some thoughts on this, straight off the top of my head, but I've got some thoughts on it. So fuck VAR, you've already brought it up, so we'll just move on past that one. One of the ones actually I would take from rugby is sin bin for dissent. Genuinely, it would make such a difference to the game that I think sin bin for dissent would be one that I would look at and think, do you know what? I'm harking back to the scum days, the proper halcyon days of the scum when they were hounding at you, like all of them around the ref and going in his face. It's like just fuck off. Yeah. So I think that one. Potentially that one. And do you know what? I think it were brought in for the right reasons, but I think there are so many unintended consequences that fuck PSR as well. Because if you've got somebody, so to me, the way to overcome issues with clubs overspending is you ensure that clubs put a certain amount available to the club that cannot just be siphoned back out of the club. So if an owner wants to put money into the club, fine. It means you can't take any money out for X number of years, so that they can't just walk away, empty the coffers and leave a club in ruins. And you don't see Bury and other clubs just going out of business. But I do think that Newcastle, Villa, they should now be in a position where they're able to kick on and actually carry a challenge to the ESL elite fuckers. And the fact that they can't, the fact that Villa have had to sell their best players, the fact that Newcastle have had to sell Isak, the richest club in the world has been held to ransom by their player because Liverpool had more overhead in PSR. It just, you look at the way that it's calculated. It's the cards are stacked against promoted sides. They're stacked against sides that are further down the league, and it is just an old boys club, and that is what it's become. So for me, the unintended consequences of it. So I would appreciate seeing Bins coming in because I think it would stamp that out, and I think we should get rid of VAR and PSR.
Fair. I think I've got a couple. I sort of agree with Scooby. Busy, I think you mean Busty. Frolians serving German beer to you while you're actually watching the game. So allowed to have a beer in your seat, but obviously people can't be trusted with that. So I appreciate why that's not one. My other one would be you're allowed to run on the pitch and kick the shit out of anybody that you don't like from the other team. So basically, Hannibal Mebry, Bruno Fernandes type player. You're just allowed to go on and twat them.
I support that as well.
Without getting told off or done. Cool. Right then, poll results. Let's get on with the poll. First of all, thank you to our top fans tonight. Steve Brown, number 1, Scooby, and number 2, and Richard Hogan at number 3. Thanks for all your comments. Poll result in last place, Be All Wings is with 5%. Tactic No, 16% in third place. Second place, Amper Poo Poo Poo, 21%. And the winner, substantial 58%, is Grey Area. Yeah, well done.
Faith in fan base restored.
Yeah.
Yes, faith restored. Just one last question before the international break, which we're all talking about, where Farker might be feeling a bit of pressure. We have got 3 games. We're at home to West Ham, we're away at Brighton, and away at Forest. How many points do we pick up really quickly?
4.
And and Fark keeps his job with those 4, yeah?
Yeah.
No pressure if we pick up 4 from those 3 in any order?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, no.
And where are you getting the 3 from? Friday night, both of you?
Yeah.
Lose at Brighton, draw at Forest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd go with that as well.
I'd be hoping for a win at Forest, but looking at a draw as a good result.
Cool. Well, then, I think that... other than to tell you, we are back on... probably, are you going to do it... Well, they're not here either of them, but maybe Saturday, maybe Sunday, who knows? It's Carl and Smarty. It might not even happen, to be honest.
It'll be whenever Smarty goes, Carl, when are we doing it?
Yeah, it'll be whenever Carl gets told to do it. But they are back after the West Ham game for a Baradian Cup. Do hit like, do follow us, and do subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when we are live. Just our last piece of the evening, and Gilly's going to take that away for us.
Yeah. So as you know, we've got each week we talk about the Andy's Man Club. So just the usual spiel. If you're going through a storm or have recently been through one and you're a man over 18, perhaps Andy's Man Club Leeds may be able to help you. With venues in Horsforth, Kirkstall, Pudsey, Central Leeds, Hunslet, Seacroft and Morley. Open 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Monday barring bank holidays. They also run weekly and monthly social events with the aim to get men talking and to smash the stigma around men's mental health. Details of the venues and everything they're doing is at Andy's Man Club Leeds Facebook, so give them a follow and help spread the word. And I will issue now a formal apology to Lee Fryer, who's been badgering's unfair. He's been reminding me that I said that I would clip the video from the last pod, and I've abjectly failed to do so. So here's me publicly shaming myself, and I will get that done so that can appear on their Facebook as well.
Thank you ever so much. We have, since we've started doing that, we have now got joint leaders on the top fans tonight. So thank you all for your comments. We do appreciate them. Gives us something to talk about as well. We'll see you either Saturday or Sunday, and then back next week for the main pod. Be good. Enjoy the rest of your weeks. And here's to 3 points on Friday. Cheers.
Cheers, pals.
Adios.
It's all to know better. We all to know much better than letting Carl go on with Jay. Luke's calling out bad weathers, and Smarty is no better, and Gilly gets fan mail again. but every time we go live,
Shit take has been
can't speak or even tell the time.
It's more a toys out the pram.
It's all the
If I see his mother in
we
the
all know
stands,
much better.
I'm
This
gonna
ends
crack an
your
egg in
home for tonight.
It's starting.
And if you like these weapons and you don't think that balance, please go check out our website. Good
He's a
night.
little tosser, and I hate him. He's shit. He's average, and he's a shit house.